Hey guys, it's Dr. Ray here, and welcome to Monday Night Mimosas. And actually, tonight, guys, I do not have a mimosa. Tonight, I have, I have some hot chocolate. Yep, tonight I have hot chocolate. I'm just, in one of those moods today that I'm not feeling like a mimosa. Sometimes you get like that. Hi there, I see you, cousin. How are you? Thank you for joining. Yeah, so I got me some hot chocolate, and I'm gonna tell you like my grandbaby Turtle. She tells me, she says, Duchess, don't judge me. She'll tell me what she thinks or how she feels, and she say, don't judge me. So I'm gonna ask you guys tonight, don't judge me. Tonight I'm having some hot chocolate. Yeah. Yes, and it's good. Tonight I'm going to be talking about, I found a text or email, I should say, an email from one of my followers, and it kind of put me in that mood of hot chocolate, and I guess it's a little melancholy and it's a little sad. But I think it's one that I really feel is important to talk about because it's talking about family, and family is really important. Okay, so I'm just really going to just really dive right in. And she says, Dear Dr. Ray, last week we buried my father. He was on life support after he suffered a major stroke this past November. He was clinically dead, brain dead, and all of his organs had shut down. However, I still didn't want to take him off of life support. He had a DNR in place, but me and my brother fought against it with my older sister. You see, my father left his medical power of attorney to my older sister and left his financial affairs to me. My father and I never really got along until about 3 years ago. He was a mean one, very old school, and believed that women should not make more than their husband. He believed that wives should ask permission to do things, but husbands could do whatever they wanted to. He and I had a major falling out when my husband and I divorced last summer because my father felt it was my fault. Even after I told him that my husband had cheated several times on me, he still felt like I should have stayed and that I was actually the cause of him cheating. It was like my father just didn't understand that I was the one that was being abused. My mother passed away 20 years ago, but she was a firecracker in her own right. And my father loved her very much. I live in DC, and my father and my siblings live in Ohio. I didn't get to see my father much. Dr. Ray, I'm really angry with my sister for killing my dad. I know you may say she didn't, but in my opinion, she did. I have tried to make sense of it in my head, but it doesn't. I didn't get the chance to tell him how much I loved him before his brain stopped understanding or functioning. We have a hearing next month to read his will. I already know what the will says. I don't want to give my sister anything out of the will because I feel like she killed my father. My aunt, and we'll just call her Becky, said that I am wrong and that I have no right to make that decision, but I feel differently. Dr. Ray, please let me know your opinion and tell me, what do you think I should do? How do I forgive my sister for what she did? Signed, broken-hearted daughter. Wow. Well, this one, and I have to take a sip of my hot chocolate. If I had my mimosa, I would be taking a sip of my mimosa right now. But I got my hot chocolate with my marshmallows. So I'm just going to take a sip of this. This is a really delicate situation, and it's one that's really close to my heart when it comes to talking about fathers. My father passed away some time ago. My stepfather and my biological father, they're both gone now. My stepfather raised me, married my mom, and raised me from a little tiny thing. And I considered him to be my dad, my father, my everything, my world. My father, who just kind of, or I should say the man who donated sperm to my mother to create me, rest his soul. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. So I do understand that. He really didn't give that much care about me. And that is what it is. So my father, Jack Wilson, you know, I don't know how this young lady, daughter brokenhearted, feels in the sense of sitting there and watching your father be on life support and then have to make that decision to pull it, to take his life from him. I don't know what that feels like. I do know what it feels like to lose a father. I do know that. And to lose a loved one. My aunt passed away some time ago, and she was on life support, and a decision had to be made to pull the plug. You know, she had a DNR on for her, and there was a lot of people who, you know, didn't want it, and some people said they should honor her wishes and to do it. Death and funerals and weddings, and you know, they bring out the worst in people. You know, they really do. They bring out the worst, you know. For whatever reason, you're feeling bad, feeling guilty, not feeling appreciated, not feeling wanted or to be a part of, you know, whatever's going on. Now, there's a couple of things here, and I want you guys to know, you know, like I said, I'm feeling this one, you know, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I'm gonna try my best to get through this without slobbering and having a whole bunch of tears and stuff. Let's talk about the facts, right? The fact is, Dad had a DNR in place. He had already taken care of that. That was his wishes. He did not want to be in a vegetative state. He did not want to live a certain way. So when his organs started to shut down, or when there was no sign of him ever recovering and having life, you know, when he was in his right mind, he made that decision that he wanted a DNR. You know, he did not, you know, in his right mind, he said, I do not want to live like that. And so the DNR is there to protect that person's right to choose how they will leave. And if he decided that he, you know, didn't want them to resuscitate him, or he did not want to live in a vegetative state, then, you know, daughter brokenhearted, all I can say is that would be honoring your father's wishes. It's hard to remove ourselves from their decision, because the fact of the matter is, we are selfish people. We're selfish. We don't want to hurt, right? Nope. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to be disappointed. We don't want any of the negative stuff. So we're like, no, you revive them. You save them. You bring them back, you know? So on that note, as far as the DNR is concerned, you know, if your sister was given the power of attorney for his medical and to make those decisions legally, you know, she was within her right. And let's look at it. You said he was clinically brain dead and all of his organs were starting to shut down. And he truly was being kept alive by life support. Now ask yourself this, daughter, brokenhearted daughter, ask yourself this. What quality of life did you want your father to have on that machine? if all of his bodily functions were shutting down, that means he's not thinking, he's not really feeling anything, he's not in any pain. But if stuff is starting to shut down, that means he can no longer eat, he no longer can swallow, so therefore he no longer can get nutrients into his body. That means none of the functions of all of his liver, his pancreas, his bladder, all of those things that's going to work to get all of the poisons or toxins out of the body for him to use the restroom, none of those things are working now. So, what does that mean? That means that he's gone already. Brokenhearted daughter, I want you to look at it a different way, if you can. And sometimes it's very hard for us to step out of our own self because of how we're feeling and what we want. It's really hard for us to kind of see it from somebody else's point of view. But since you reached out to me and you said, hey, help me, what should I do? And it's hard to forgive her. And, I feel like she killed my dad. And so what I would ask you to do is I would ask you to step out of yourself and look at it from a caregiver or a nurse or even your sister's point of view. And I don't even know if this is your sister's point of view, but let's just say, let's look at it. Take yourself out of the daughter role and look at it as the caregiver. Now, you're looking at this person that you have to take care of every day. And this person has no control of their body. As a caregiver, what do you think how you would feel, right? You're just taking care of a body. There's no one there. There's no one there, So if you can for a moment stop seeing it from your point of view and look at it from the side of, okay, what quality of life is my dad having? He can't taste anything. He can't smell anything. He can't talk. He can't feel anything. Would your father really want to live like that? And you know the answer to that, and that's no. You may have to kick and scream and go punch a wall, or I don't know, don't hurt yourself, but you may have to just really scream to the top of your lungs and just get this anger out. I also feel like there's some guilt there. I feel like you're feeling a little guilty because, like you said, and I'm going to take a sip of my hot chocolate here. Because of, like you said, that you and your father had a falling out last summer after your divorce. And a falling out is never good, right? And I can imagine that you're probably feeling a certain amount of guilt because of that falling out, and maybe because of some things that you said, and maybe you took yourself away from him for a little while, and so you're feeling guilty now, and the guilt is really part of it, part of the pain that you're feeling. Because you wrote and you said, I didn't get a chance to tell him how much I love him. Basically you didn't really get a chance to get it right, So you have to forgive yourself first and foremost. If you truly want to forgive your sister for having to do what your dad asked her to do, you have to forgive yourself. And forgiving yourself starts with understanding that we do have disagreements. Everybody has disagreements. And however you felt and however your father felt, both of you guys had an exchange of words, right? And that's what it was. You didn't kill your dad. You didn't cause your father to have the stroke. You didn't put him in that state of in the hospital where a decision had to be made to either keep him alive or not. You were being a daughter. You had a discussion with your father who disagreed with you, and then you guys had a disagreement. And that's okay to have a disagreement, okay? Maybe you said some things you shouldn't have said, but at this point, really, to keep that in and to keep harboring those feelings are only going to make you feel worse. And let me tell you what happens with guilt and hate and all of those, the emotions that are very negative. They eventually start to tear your body down physically. Not just, you crying and being depressed, but those emotions, strong hate and guilt, that eats away on the body. It makes the body start to shut down because the body is confused now. The body is supposed to be living and positive and doing, all this energy, good stuff. But when we allow negative energy and negative stuff to stay in our bodies for long periods of time, in our minds and in our thoughts and in our spirits, the body responds to that. And you have to understand that. Now, brokenhearted daughter, all I can tell you right now is forgive yourself. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure your dad forgave you. I'm pretty sure your dad loved you. And, like you said, you guys hadn't been close, but now you guys got close, but then you had a falling out. I'm pretty sure he forgave you. Now, another thing that happens in our relationships, in our family relationships is, and not even, not even just in family relationships, oftentimes in regular relationships and friendships and marriages, when something happens, a lot of times if we don't completely understand the dynamics of what it is, what's going on with us and what has happened, we will put off our stuff onto other people. And I kind of hear that right now. I kind of hear that you are putting off your feelings of guilt and hurt. Maybe a little shame in there, you feel a little shame. And you're putting that off on your sister. And that's not fair. That's not fair at all. Your sister loved your father. She had a very hard decision to make. That was not an easy decision to make, but she made it. And so here you are, you're fighting her tooth and nail to make a decision that your father wanted. And now you don't want to give her what's rightfully hers within the will because you feel that she killed your dad, which she did not. But that's not fair. Truly, that's not fair. I'm gonna have another sip of my hot chocolate. Got a little tingle, itch in my throat. We have to deal with our own stuff. We have to deal with our own issues. We have to look at our own self in the mirror, that man in the mirror moment, and say, hey, what is the bottom line? What is the basis for what you're feeling? And when we're able to do that, if we're able to be really truthful with ourselves and say, why do we feel the way we feel? Why did we do what we did? And take the other person out of the equation. I did what I did because you. No. We are responsible for our own actions. We are responsible for what we say and what we do. You're not responsible for someone else's actions or for what they do. We are all our own person. So I ask you, brokenhearted daughter, take a look in the mirror and say, what really is eating you? What really is the cause of why you feel what you feel about your sister? And a lot of times when stuff runs real deep, it's not just that thing. It's something else that's feeding it. It's something else that has added to it. So she doesn't want to give her sister what's rightfully hers because she feels that her older sister killed her father by taking him off of life support, which he actually had a DNR in place and all of his organs and things were shutting down. That's a tough one. It's really tough. But she did not kill your father, dear. She did not kill your father. If she had killed your father, she would be in jail. She did not. She did what your father asked, and that was to let him pass away in peace with some kind of dignity in his own mind, whatever that dignity looked like for him. Now, you can contest the will if you want. That is your prerogative. I don't know how far that will go. I don't know, you could tie up his will and his money or whatever for years and years if that's what you choose to do. But is that what your father would want? Would your father want that? And that's another question you have to ask yourself. Would your father really want that? Because this is after all about your dad, right? Yeah. Would your dad support your decision to contest it? If your father did not want her to have it, he would not have put it in there for her to have. So I feel like, and this is a hard one, and I need you to really be a big girl right now and hear what I'm saying to you. This is not about you. This is about what your dad wanted. And when we love, we have to remove ourselves out of the equation. It's not about you. It's about what your father wanted. It's hard to accept that. But at the end of the day, and the bottom line is, it's what your father would have wanted. And I hope you hear me. It is what your father would have wanted. It's not about you. Now, I do understand that it is difficult. Like I said, when I opened up, I don't think that I would, I don't even know how I would feel. Both of my fathers have passed away, and neither one of them were on life support. So I did not have to make a decision to pull the plug. I didn't. So even when my aunt passed, I was not there. And I don't know how I would have felt to have to do that. And my uncle, I had an uncle that passed away. And I just don't know if that is a very, very difficult thing to do. And to honor their wishes, they want you to honor their wishes. They don't want to live like that. So just to kind of wrap up everything this evening, this was a letter about a daughter who just recently had to bury her father last week. Her father had a DNR in place, and her older sister wanted to honor that. She did not. Her and her brother wanted to fight the older sister about the DNR. The father had a stroke, never recovered. All of his organs, vital organs, were shutting down. He was clinically brain dead. She's very angry with her sister and feels that her sister killed her father. And her father had her in charge of his finances, and she's the executive over his will. And the father left all of them some money, and she doesn't want to give the older sister any money, her portion of the money, because she feels like her older sister killed her father. And so kind of to recap some of the things that I shared with her, that she really needs to take into consideration, that your sister was placed in a very difficult situation, And it was very hard for your sister to make that decision, but your sister was honoring your father's wishes. And you really should remove yourself out of the equation and to see how your father would really be living if he lived like that. When he was in his right frame of mind, he made a decision. I don't want to be a vegetable. I don't want to be on life support. So he, while he was in his right mind, decided to do a DNR, and he put that in place, and that is a legal document. And he made that decision. Are you really honoring his wishes by fighting that? Okay, well, he's passed away. They have buried him. And now I ask you again, are you really honoring his wishes by fighting your sister with the money that your father left him? That's not fair. If he left the money for her, he wanted her to have it, and he made the decision when he was in his right mind. And again, I say to her, broken-hearted daughter, you have to remember this is not about you. And that's a hard pill to swallow. You know, it's not about you, sweetheart. It's about your dad. It's about what he wanted. It is about what he wanted. And you as a daughter should honor that. Honor his last wishes. Now, I do want to say, you know, to everybody out there, I see you all. Thank you guys so much for joining Monday Night Mimosas. I appreciate it so much. Excuse me. One of the things I want to say, though, is that death is final. Death is difficult to deal with. It baffles a lot of people. It you know, when we're left here to live on without the ones we love, it can be very difficult. The pain of losing someone close to us can be very debilitating, where you feel like you can't move on, or you can't go on, or you get stuck in time. You know, you get stuck in a certain place, and it just seems like the world keeps moving on except you. You know, death does do that. I want to say, and I say this to myself as well, cherish the ones that are here. Love them. Love them. Love on them. Love on your sisters and brothers, your mothers, your fathers, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your friends. What's so interesting, though, that, and I feel like this world, the United States, we're so backwards at times. You know, we take the value, the life of an animal, a dog, a cat, you know, an endangered species, a bear, a bee, those things are more important than human life. We value those things more importantly than human life. And that is so backwards to me. But I say to you guys, you know, broken-hearted daughter, she had a falling out with her dad last summer, and that's partly what I believe. She's feeling some guilt there. But she had a disagreement with her dad, and apparently she didn't get that disagreement right. She didn't get a chance to apologize and say that she loved him and all that stuff before he had his stroke. When we have our disagreements, and we will have disagreements. We do. We have disagreements. We don't always agree, right? Sometimes someone has wronged us. And guess what? Sometimes we have wronged people. When that happens, okay, I'm not going to say just get over it. I'm going to say we need to handle it better. We need to handle each other better when we're angry and when we have disagreements. I think that we live in a society that has kind of programmed us not to appreciate human life. I believe that because the way our government is run and how they truly, an animal, a dog or a cat is valued more. You know, you can get hard time for animal cruelty, you know, but for being an abusive husband, You're not going to get any time. You can do a restraining order for a crazy woman or a crazy man, a crazy husband or a crazy wife, and then they'll say, "Oh, call us again if they breach the restraining order." Well, hello, if they breach the restraining order, they probably gonna kill me. So it's our thought process and how we value each other and how we handle each other in conflict has a lot to do with our society and has a lot to do with how we're fed and what's fed into us and our laws. It really does. But those of you that are listening, I say, please, this is 2021. It's a new year. Many people have passed away last year due to COVID. So they're telling us, that's a whole nother Monday Night Mimosa, my take on COVID. But the fact of the matter is, people did pass away. They did say it was from COVID. And there were people who passed away by themselves, alone. People were not able to bury their loved ones. They were truly not able to say goodbye. Just horrible, horrible, horrible. While you have breath in your body and while you have your loved ones, don't hold on to grudges. Don't. Forgive if you can. Find everything within your body to forgive that loved one, especially if that loved one is somebody you truly value and you love and they're close to you and they play an intricate part in your life. Find a place in your heart to forgive them and move past it and have joy and peace in your relationships. Because let me tell you, life is precious and it can be taken away just like that in a snap. And then we're left with regret, like brokenhearted daughter, and guilt, like brokenhearted daughter, because she didn't get it right. She didn't get it right. My dad, I had an opportunity to really spend time with him before he passed away, and my dad made a choice. He did not have to pass away when he did. My father was a fighter. He was a go-getter. He was a go-getter, let me tell you. About a month before he passed away, he went to the hospital. Not the hospital, he had a doctor's appointment. And the doctor said to him, "Sir, how are you even walking? Okay, you do not have any oxygen. Your body is not getting any oxygen." And he literally told my dad, he said, "You know what, sir, Mr. Jack Wilson, if you smoke one more cigarette, sir, just one, you could literally drop dead. Just one." Do you know what my daddy did? My daddy was in rehab, wheeling around in his wheelchair, bumming cigarettes from people. He made a decision when he was going to leave, when the doctor was going to discharge him. He would have had to been on a oxygen tank. He would have. And my father was a proud man. He was a proud man. He did not want that. So he made a decision. He made a decision. I don't want that. And if I'm going to go, then I'm going to go out my way. And he did. He made a decision, and not long after, I'm thinking he probably had maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 more cigarettes after that, after the doctor told him that, because there were people in the rehab place that smoked. He made a decision. And I think about my dad all the time. And as I said, tonight I'm feeling a little melancholy. There's a lot of things I would like to say to my dad that I can't. And so I say to my followers out there, life is so precious.
is very precious. And we can argue, you know, we can have disagreements. We can feel like our feelings were hurt, you know. But your family and your friends that have been there, that have been supportive to you, you know, sit down and talk your things out. Sit down and talk it out and listen to their side, you know. Ask them to listen to you, you know, so you can get your side out. And then pray about it. Pray for peace. And then let it go and move on. Move on. Life is way too short, guys. Life is way too short. And things happen, you know. Things happen and will change your life forever. And sometimes it's not even death. Sometimes it is a stroke or a heart attack that will, you know, put someone in a vegetative state and you can't talk to them or they can't hear you, you know. So, brokenhearted daughter, I pray that you find peace. I really do. I pray that you find peace and forgiveness. You know, your sister was only doing what your dad asked. And so she did that. And you should honor your father's wishes. So I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. Thank you for listening. Tonight was, a little melancholy, a little sad. And I'm still a little sad. I'll finish my hot chocolate, and probably watch a little Lifetime TV maybe and call it a night. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Please continue to watch, share, and like my page, Monday Night Mimosas. We'll be right back with you guys next Monday. Thank you guys so much for joining. You guys have a nice evening. Bye-bye.